you have to factor the inefficiencies of the human beings who are officiating the game into your decision-making when 14 seconds are on the clock, when you have the ball on the 41-yard line, when you decide that you're going to, now that the 49ers have figured out, maybe we should defend the sidelines.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What took
just
3
maybe,
plays too long. Right.
Maybe we should defend the sidelines.
I don't know what they were thinking there.
Hey, Chris, it was starting to remind me of the defense that New Orleans deployed in
against the Vikings.
Minneapolis Miracle game.
Yes.
Where you got all these guys wasted in the middle of the field.
Right.
Those guys in the middle of the field aren't going to do crap, and I almost said the other word. I've been coming so close in recent days to saying that word.
I'm rubbing off.
But you saw it. They all fanned out, and they fan out. Whoa, okay. It was a perfect setup. It was a perfect setup. You know, for all the stuff that Mike McCarthy will try to do from time to time to show he's a good coach, this was the perfect setup for the play that he's had in his back pocket for weeks. They practice it every week. Quarterback draw in order to get yourself a situation where you don't have to go Hail Mary to try to win the game. Great idea. Horrible execution on the back end. Usually execution is the issue on the front end. This is bad execution on the back end. Dak Prescott goes down too late. Dak Prescott doesn't give the ball to an official, which he must do. You got to give the ball to the official. You don't get to spot the ball. Actually, when you watch when the slide starts, it was more like the 26.
No doubt.
You don't get to decide where the play ended.
No.
You don't get to say, hey, here's center. Get ready.
Well,
the official has to touch the
I'm so glad you're saying this. I'm so glad you're saying this because when you listen to him in his post-game press conference, he thinks he did everything right because he handed the ball to the center. And to me, this is, again, where the detail, the Cowboys, they're not necessarily the most detailed team in the world. Again, it's every week they complain about the referees. And then every week I watch the game and I go, they were egregious. They were all justified penalties. What are you talking about, Dallas Cowboys? Stop complaining about the referees. It's pass interference. It's holding. It's one thing after another. They're blatant. They're in your face. And they act like, I don't know why the refs are calling it on us. I can't stand that about the Cowboys right now. Go ahead.
It reminds me of the old Chip Kelly offense when he first came to the NFL and they wanted to go, and he was harping on his guys. As soon as you're tackled, hand the ball to the official. And he was harping on them to do it. And one guy who wouldn't do it was LaShawn McCoy, and eventually what happened? He got shipped to Buffalo.
Right.
I mean, it's on the coaching staff to drill this into the heads of their players. And Mike McCarthy said after the game, we practice that every week. Well, maybe you should practice it every day because there were flaws on the back-end execution.
Right.
Your quarterback stayed up too long. Why do you have to get to the 24? And look, I'm a Dak guy.
Yeah,
I love Dak.
Right.
Why do you have to get to the 24? The 30's fine. He got a little greedy.
Yes.
I mean, you're doing surgery here. You're not swinging a sledgehammer. This is surgery. And on top of it all, Chris, you're dealing with officials who aren't necessarily ready for what's coming.
No, that's exactly right.
They don't know that this is coming.
That's what you're
They
talking
don't
about.
expect it. They're saying, I almost said it again, like the rest of us. So that's part of what you have to factor into these final seconds.
Right.
That you're going to have an umpire who's thinking, what the hell is going on? He ran the ball.
Well, and also, you just talked about it and you said it. McCarthy said, we practice this every week. Dak, okay, that's great. Do you practice it with a referee, though? Or do you just practice it at your own leisure and go, oh, hey, we're down here. Here's the ball. You take it center. Oh, look, everybody. We left time on the clock. We did it. Have they done it with 14 seconds left on the clock? That's the first place I want to start. I know you heard me talk about this a little bit in the pregame show last night. Any team I was ever on, 18 seconds for any play that was, let's say past 5 yards down the field for the most part, was kind of the line of demarcation to where you go, you're flirting with danger. For anything a past 5-yard gain, if you got less than 17 seconds on the clock, 17 or less, you're going to cut it close with any significant gain plus 5 yards. That was the rule I was always taught. It's something that Josh McDaniels in Denver beat into our brains. It's something I heard Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots talk about when I worked there for a little bit. So that's a known thing within the NFL. That to run that play, and like you said, then to continue to run to get the extra yards, that's the first mistake. to really think that that was going to be realistic, that we were going to have that type of run, that type of gain, everybody was going to get lined up in 14 seconds, wow, that's extremely ambitious, let alone, like we talked about, I guarantee they don't have a real referee at practice running down and acting like they have to do this. It's usually, the guy, here's Dak Prescott giving the ball to the center, and we spiked it, and yay, we did it. Or there's a ball boy who's down there waiting for the ball to come to him because he knows what's about to happen because it's practice, and they do it, and they give it to him, and they go, hey, we did it. But that's not the realistic way it's done in a football game. And I think that's where they lost sight of what actually needed to be done in that situation.
From time to time, we'll hear stories about coaches telling officials to be on the lookout for certain things that the team plans to do. Now, I don't know how much advance notice would be, could be, or should be given for something like that. And I don't even know when you would do it. It's not like you tell them before the game, hey, we're thinking about doing an onside kick. Just be ready for it when we kick off to start one of the two halves. Be ready for whatever. Be ready for this. Be ready for that. We're thinking about this. We're thinking about that. But it's clear that the umpire, what you could just tell by the way he was moving, he was thinking, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, oh, bleep, oh, bleep.
Right.
Because he wasn't ready for that. Nobody was ready for that. We're all like, what the hell are the Cowboys doing?
Yeah.
But it's a combination of being a little too greedy, because the 30's fine. The difference between the 40 and the 30 is the difference between Hail Mary and 5 verticals. Let's hear from Mike McCarthy. I'm starting to encroach on what he said. Don't listen to me. Listen to the guy whose job may be riding on this fateful execution of the quarterback draw with 14 seconds left. Here's McCarthy.
I've never seen that come down, the way it came down, as far as the collision between the umpire and the quarterback. We were trying to get inside the 30-yard line to set up the last play. The mechanics were intact. I felt from our end of it, communication that I was given on the sideline, that they were reviewing it. They were going to put, time back on the clock. And the next thing I know, that they're running off the field. So that's all. That's the only facts I have for you.
Go to New York to review, or
that's the only thing I got for you.
You were told that. You were told they're going to put time.
Yeah, he
back
thought
on
he's going to put. They're going to put time back on the clock. We call them thresholds, and the field position, what yard line you're at, and what you're trying to get to too, based on defense that they were the defense that they were playing. They were in a sideline defense, so they were protecting the sidelines, and so that was the best option to to be able to get the ball. I mean, it's like anything else. Do you want to be running a Hail Mary play from the 50-yard line, or you want to be running 5 verticals from the 25-yard line? So that's the decision. It's the right decision. It's just like anything. It's the execution between us and the officiating spotting the ball obviously wasn't in tune. We shouldn't have had any problem getting the ball spotted there. Is that the quote you're looking for? Yeah, so.
Well, you shouldn't have had any problem spotting the ball there, because your quarterback should have gone down at the 30 and he should have handed the ball to the official. That's why you shouldn't have had any problem.
That's
the chaos was caused.
Yeah.
And again, I say all of this as a card-carrying member of the Dak Prescott fan
Agreed,
club.
me too.
It's because your quarterback didn't go down at the 30 and didn't give the ball to the official. And look, I'm not just going to blame Dak for this, because you got to coach your quarterback.
Yeah.
To do the I got a lot of things I could say, and I have a feeling I'm going to say them. Let's hear from Dak while we regroup and choose our next sentences carefully. Here's Dak talking about the final play.
I mean, in hindsight, I can say I could have went down sooner if I'd have known all of that was going to play out that way. But I also think if I don't get hit from behind, it's a clean, and we're clocking the ball with at minimum a second, if not more, if not 2 or 3 on the clock. And as I said, their guy did a good job too of diving on me right there at the end, of giving them an extra 2 seconds, I guess, to run off. But yeah, I mean, if we're looking at it now, I could say I could have went down 5 yards earlier, but thought I'd got us in position and thought I had time left to clock the ball, as I said, and something that we've practiced over and over, and was going to be able to get into a last play scenario.
Should you hand the ball to the umpire, or is that Tyler's job? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, no, we've practiced it. You hand it to the center. The umpire, all he has to do is usually come in and tap the ball.
That's baloney. See, oh boy, that's
wrong.
baloney.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose the spot of the ball. You don't get to decide where the ball goes, and the umpire just comes and taps
practice.
it
That's
as
like
some
practice
sort of mechanical
stuff there.
exercise.
Yeah.
The reason you have to hand it to the official is the official puts the ball at the spot where the prior play ended. And it's a failure of coaching. It's a failure of execution, but it's a failure of coaching to properly execute. And, the way Dak explained it, he's right. He's right, but it's not the official's fault. They created the scenario where the official is, oh, crap, his way down the field to try to get in position to set the ball and let them proceed. And, hey, sometimes when Indiana Jones reaches back for his hat under the stone door lands on his arm. That's what makes it so exciting. They did the equivalent of Indiana Jones reaching back under the door for his hat, and the door crushed their arm. And sometimes that happens, folks. Sometimes your hero's arm gets crushed by the stone door. That's why it's so exciting when he gets his hat. If that makes any sense whatsoever, if you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. But that's kind of what they were doing. Hey, he was feeling a little swashbuckly, if that's a word. He was thinking he was going to get away with it until the official ran into him. It's not the official's fault. You created, maybe fart too. Maybe that's an explanation. But you created the scenario where chaos happened. You're responsible for it, Chris.
Without a doubt. First off, you ran into the official. That's the first thing. Like you said, the Cowboys want to act like they're making up the rules. We'll tell you where we went down, and we'll spot the ball, and the ref just needs to look at it and go, that's good. All right, that's the first thing that's annoying. First off, there's a clear, like no understanding, misunderstanding. Again, a 17-yard play with 14 seconds left. That's not even on their radar. They think they should get that off. That to me is the first thing that they haven't really practiced this all that closely or studied it that closely to know. Because I could promise you the numbers won't bear out that 14 seconds and a 17-yard gain is something that's really doable that way. The referee busted his ass to get there. He tried as hard as he can. Dak Prescott was busy looking across the field at the other clock. If he got out of the way, maybe he would have got there in time. But he was too busy looking at the clock. That's the second thing that bothers me. Thirdly, it's not even close. Like, they're talking about we want to put time on the clock. I don't even know if they got the snap off before it hit 0-0, let alone they want time on the clock from the spike. That to me is crazy, all right? And then here's the last thing that annoys me a little bit about the tone. Like they act like they were definitely going to win the game if that got spotted. Like it was going to be a game-winning field goal. Like it's a chip shot field goal. We're going to win it. They messed it up. We were going to win it. No, you're going to have to throw a ball into 8 defenders and see where it goes from there. And again, I know there's a chance, but it was limited percentage. So I'm a little annoyed with the way Dallas is trying to portray this right now. And it's been happening a lot. It happened on Thanksgiving where they didn't want pass interference called, even though they did it all game long. It happened 2 weeks ago in the Cardinals game. They were, we have to fight the refs and the other team. Wah. This is why you're at home. You're making excuses. That's why. I mean, that's all I can really say. And I like the Cowboys, and I'm a Dak Prescott fan hugely, no doubt about it. But they messed it up, and they have no one to blame but themselves.
It's an institutional arrogance that starts at the very top and permeates the entire organization, that things are just going to go our way because we're the Cowboys. And we're going to get a few extra seconds. We're going to get a chance to run another play.
It is crazy.
We're the Cowboys. And the official is going to not run into our quarterback or
or forget it.
Quarterback
he doesn't even need to spot the ball. We're so arrogant.
Hey,
the referee doesn't even spot it. We spot it.
We just give it to the center.
Yeah, he'll spot it.
The center.
Right.
All the official has to do is look at it.
Right.
I mean, that's almost what Dak said, and it's coming from the coaching staff. And two things that I thought of as you were explaining your points extremely well. I don't know why I'm being nice to you today. I guess I am glad you're back. Dak should have stepped back. I mean, you got to roll out the red carpet. You know that the official has to touch it.
Right.
Even if you're wrong, that you get to spot it. You know the official has to touch it. Get the hell out of his way.
That's it.
Understand that he's coming.
Right.
Move.
Yeah.
Red carpet treatment for the official so he can come touch the ball, because you can't do anything until he touches the ball. It's Dak was not even thinking in that moment that an official had to come touch the ball. And one last point, too. You mentioned how they'd be defending the end zone, that this is hardly a gimme from the 24-yard line. Chris, that's all the more reason to go down at the 30.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, in my experience of watching football for 50 years, You snap the ball from the 30, it's a lot harder to put 8 guys in the end zone on the snap.
It is. It
you get
spreads
to
the
the
field a
24,
little. Right.
You get to the 24,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to back everybody up to the goal line. Because if you're at the 30 and you over-defend the end zone, you put yourself in a position where there's going to be a hook and ladder, which they did earlier in the drive, or something like that, that gets the ball to the end zone, short of the end zone on the throw, to the end zone on the run. 25 and in, it's a lot easier to flood the end zone. They'd have been better off executing that last play from the 30.
You make a good point. It definitely is less real estate to work with. Once you get down there close, to your point is exact. They can cram everybody in the end zone for the most part. Have everybody right at the goal line, have a bunch of guys right behind that, and you got nowhere to go. You're a little farther back, to your point, you might be able to throw a ball and complete it at the 6-yard line, and maybe he runs in. Or nonetheless, it just spreads them out a little bit more to where it gives you a little bit of a hole. If Dak does escape the pocket, now he's got to drive a ball into that hole. There's a little more room for that altogether. Bottom line is 49ers are a better team, period. They showed that. They were the better team throughout. The only reason the Cowboys got back in the game was really because of 49ers self-inflicted mistakes. I didn't even look at it as like, oh, wow, the Cowboys have taken over the momentum of the football game, or they're really outplaying the 49ers. If they did, I would say that. I never got the sense that that was going on. I don't think you did. Anybody I was watching the game here with NBC, we all clearly thought the 49ers were the better football team. And, yeah, Dallas, again, their arrogance, they're a little overrated. They beat up on the weak NFC East all year. Their other teams they beat were not all that great. Again, the expectations, I think, were a little too high for their whole franchise. And I understand. They had Super Bowl aspirations, and I get that. And they expected to win a home playoff game. But the team they played, the team that came into town was better than them, period. And I still think they're a piece or two away from being a legit Super Bowl team, as we saw yesterday.
At one point yesterday, it felt like a more significant game than a wild card. It felt almost like a conference championship. And I think part of the way it felt like that was because in my lifetime, I've seen these teams cross paths so many times in conference championships. It was their first playoff matchup since 1994, when the Cowboys finally lost to the 49ers, and the 49ers went on to win the Super Bowl with Steve Young at quarterback. But there's so much that is riding on advancing or not advancing. If the 49ers blow that game up 23-7, Jimmy G's not even on the plane back, right? It's like Antonio Brown. He's going to be calling an Uber outside AT&T Stadium. He's off the team. Now that the Cowboys have lost, and I had somebody texting me, somebody who's been involved in the league apparatus for years, upset because Tony Romo was mentioning Kellen Moore so much, and it was creating this sense almost that McCarthy's job was on the line in this game, and that Kellen Moore is going to become the head coach. And my reaction was, this isn't Tony Romo trying to make something happen. This is Tony Romo allowing the things he's hearing,
I think you're right.
To come out in his call, just like when we all thought he was Karnak in his first year as an analyst at CBS. The reality was when you go to practice and you see these plays and you see these situations, you got a pretty good idea when it's time to play the game what may happen. And he's dialed back in part because I think people were starting to call him out for that.
Yeah,
he has inside information. He's been talking to people. He's not trying to drive a narrative that he crafted. He's trying to be right as to what ultimately happens. And I think Mike McCarthy is in trouble because Kellen Moore is in demand. Dan Quinn is in demand, although I think they're far more likely to give the job to Kellen Moore and hope that Dan Quinn doesn't get a head coaching job somewhere else, or at a minimum, create a scenario now where McCarthy's clock is ticking even more loudly and Kellen Moore takes over as soon as a year from now, if not during the 2022 season, just like Jason Garrett finally took over for Wade Phillips during the 2010 season when Jerry Jones made it abundantly clear he would never fire a coach during the season. He fired Wade Phillips during the season. It's just starting to feel like that's where this is potentially going. And I think if Jerry Jones is capable of objectively looking at what happened yesterday, especially in the end-of-game scenario, end-of-season scenario, everything you worked for, this is why you lift all them weights, as Parcells once said.
Right.
It comes down to that kind of a miscalculation of execution and of estimation of how much time you really needed.
Right.
When in that moment, that the pressure of that moment, when the flaws become that glaring, that's the kind of thing that should make, and I'm not calling for Mike McCarthy to be fired. I'm calling for an objective assessment of the situation by the Cowboys. That's the kind of thing that should make people take a step back and say, do we have in
I
place
think that's happening.
the coaching staff
right.
that allows us to get to where we want to go?
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.